Get started. Okay, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We've got a great agenda planned for today, and I'll just give a quick overview of the presentations that are going to be covered. Greg's going to be kicking us off with some opening remarks and celebrating our newest hires and recent anniversaries. We're going to be provided a capital improvement plan and Bolton Force Main update. We're going to be hearing about our community events and activities. We're also going to be given an update on the facility remodels. Alexa is going to be our featured presenter for her life outside of WES. And Greg's going to close the meeting with some final remarks. Before we start off with the formal agenda, I'm going to pass to Chris for a fun icebreaker. Feel free to post responses in the chat if you think you have the answers.
Also, feel free to unmute if you want to just laugh and laugh. All right. First one, why did the pirate have a hard time learning the alphabet? He was lost at sea. Thanks, Greg. Who was the best dancer at the Halloween party? The boogeyman.
That's a good one.
All right. One of two is good. All right. I like it.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, for the fun opening. And next, we'll hear from Greg.
Hi, everybody. Good to see so many people here. And looks like the DSB conference room is pretty full too, so that's great. I don't have much to share. I just wanted to I've been kind of reflecting lately on the year. I think a couple of the big items in the 50th anniversary for Kellogg, where we unveiled a rendering for the administration building remodel, which is long overdue and much deserved and finally happening, which was great. And then, obviously the Clackamas launch and knock on wood, continued journey, which Jeff will talk more about. That was a huge milestone for us and literally years in the making. So super exciting. But the other thing that I've been reflecting on over the past year is just relationships. People, I've been doing a lot of tours of the Tri-City and Kellogg facilities for people out in the community, whether they're Rotary clubs or city managers or mayors or whomever, people that we work with and should work with. And, people often ask me, so how are things at WES? And I just say, I kind of have to pinch myself. We're financially healthy. We have the best relationships. We know what we need to build, when we need to build it, and how we're going to pay for it. So we have solid, master plans and financial plans in place. And we have a engineering team fully staffed and in place to deliver just a lot of really cool and needed projects. But mostly it's about the relationships. And when I became the director, we did not have good relationships with really any of the cities and the communities that we serve. And now I can say that we have great relationships with all of them, on a technical level, as well as kind of the more politically, arena, the political kind of arenas. But we've really, we've got good engagement, and we've built durable, trusting relationships. And that just gratifies me. And I see that not just how we act or interact with the community that we serve, but even within WES. I've seen a level of, collaboration and cooperation between our operations and our engineering teams and our finance teams that I've just never seen in the past. I mean, it's at an all-time high, and that's just wonderful. So that's my reflection on the year. Next slide. So yeah, we've got some new folks. Take a look. I won't read through all of them. I do want to call out Dylan. I saw he's on the call. Welcome back, Dylan. Great to have you. So glad that you chose to come back. Next slide. And we also have, I don't know if Kayla or Sam are on the call today, but Kayla Curtin is our new business partner in class and compensation over at HR. And Sam at PGA, and they're both hitting the ground running and really doing great work for us. So thank you. And then we've had some promotions, which is wonderful. Chris is now the environmental services supervisor. Kyler came on as an operations trainee, and Kayani also as an operations trainee. They were temporary folks prior to that, and or maybe West assistants, I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, great to have them moving up in the operations teams. And then we had Tony Furlow up at Hoodland moved on, and Melissa in the lab moved up to the Seattle area to work for King County in their wastewater division laboratory. So, next slide, I think. Oh yeah, anniversaries. Again, I won't read everybody, but yeah. Anthony, 20 years, Ken, 20 years, Larry, Tim, Kay. Yeah, wonderful. Next slide.
All right. Winter event is rapidly approaching, and hopefully you have seen in your inbox sign-up sheets and all kinds of fun things. So just want to encourage everybody to sign up if they would like to for the two events or the two competitions. And just a reminder too that it's a potluck. This year we're doing something a little different. We're having some sides catered from Buster's. So looking forward to that. And then so we can kind of, the focus on potluck can be more on the sweet side, but if you have a savory dish that is super awesome and you want to bring it, please do. The more food, the better. That's never a problem, too much food. So please feel free to just bring whatever you would like, and 2 raffle tickets for an item that you bring in. Also want to highlight that this year we're doing that speed puzzle competition. So it's kind of want to see how many folks sign up and kind of what it's going to look like. But the idea is that there would be teams of 2, and there would be $100, sorry. Oh geez, now I gotta pull that back a little bit. 100 piece puzzle. And so anyway, this was aerial shot taken by Blake using Tom's drone, which is really gorgeous. And so we're going to use that for a puzzle this year, and winners take home a puzzle. So that's pretty cool. And then I want to toss it to Stephanie real quick for the photo contest.
Yeah, so we're doing the 4th annual photo contest for this holiday event. The email went out on Monday, so the photo submission deadline to get those pictures in is Friday, November 1st. So we've got about a week and a half left. Voting will open and take place the weeks of November 4th through November 15th. So be on the lookout for the full unit to come through so you can vote for your favorite photo. And then we will announce the winners and present the prizes at the holiday celebration in December. Just as a reminder, the number 1 winner will win a 16 by 20 canvas of their photo. And then the 2 runner-ups will receive a coffee mug featuring their photo. So definitely, if you haven't seen that email come through, please reach out to me. Reach out to the WES Events and Recognition Committee mailbox, and I can direct you to where to send those photos at.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie. And then most recently sent around an email for a winter event gift, having a little different this year with the choice of A, B, C, D, or E, which is none of the above, and that's totally fine too. So anyway, looking forward to that. And also I just want to mention, reiterate that the sign up for the ping pong and sign up for the puzzles is required. So we just, for planning purposes and just to make sure that we kind of are on schedule and all that good stuff, please be sure to sign up if you are interested. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. As we go through the presentations today, we'll accept comments or questions at the closing of each presentation. So feel free to utilize either the chat feature or raise your hand, and I'll be watching for both of those as we're going through the meeting. So first up, the presentation will be a capital improvement plan and Bolton Force Main update.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone, for giving me an opportunity to talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about the CIP. I'm going to go relatively quickly just on kind of highlight the updates that we make. We update that plan annually, and then I'll give a little bit on the outfall and where we're at there, and then I'll turn it over to Jessica to talk Bolton. Next slide. So from last year to this year, the summary of the major updates to the CIP. So we update every year. We update project costs. We update costs where projects where we're not working on them based on the engineering news records. They issue an index every year. It's kind of, think of it as like the CPI index. This is specifically structured towards construction costs. So we updated all project costs, either the E&R construction costs, or if we did design work on it and we have a better understanding of the cost of a project as we work through design and define the project further, we updated them based on cost estimates we've received through the design process. Based on some of the increased costs we've had, and the hydraulic modeling, we've adjusted the timing for the upper and lower Clackamas interceptor projects. The middle interceptor is one we have to work on now. It's at capacity, and so we're moving that one forward, but we did adjust the timing of the upper and lower. We've revised how we're going to deliver the Willamette pump station and force main. We were originally planning to build that all at the same time. I think we'll end up sequencing it from the pump station and then the force main. We'll evaluate that as we continue to do design. We'll finalize design and then we'll just build them one after the other. One of the biggest project changes we had was to the costs associated with the Tri-City Influent Pump Station. One of the biggest factors was the electrical scope was underestimated in the planning documents in terms of what was going to be required and the costs there. And so we've captured those costs and captured how we're planning to deliver that project as well, just in terms of making sure that we can meet the firm capacity of the station, meaning we can treat our peak flows with the largest pump out of service. That's the rating of the station. And so that's all been accounted for in our updated costs. If you do look at the document, you'll notice that we revised the project detail sheet layout pretty significantly from what was historically presented. And that was really an effort to be a little more transparent with cost changes over time. And so we're trying to capture those in these detail sheets in terms of how we're adjusting year over year the costs and what's causing those cost changes. And then as part of the Kellogg digester project, I found that I had double counted some markups on that project, which amounted to, a couple of $1 million, quite frankly, in the cost of that project, just in how those markups were applied. And so we've gone back and fixed that cost of that project. So those were really the major changes. We did recently obtain the WES Advisory Committee recommendation to move forward to the board. So we'll work through the board process on this updated plan. Next slide. And so just from a spending perspective, just to highlight kind of our next 5 years on the sanitary side, these blue bars are big and we have a lot of work to do. And but we're going to spend, nearly $98 million, $99 million in the next 2 years on our sanitary side. Next slide. And then on the surface water side, that first bar in 25-26 is really driven by the Three Creeks project. But as you can see, and as some of you may be aware, this is a significant increase overall in our spending on the surface water side. And so really excited to be able to deliver some nice big projects on the surface water side as were identified in our storm system master plan that was completed. Next slide. So I took an extra slide out, but I want to comment this, the delivery of this CIP or the development, there's a number of iterations when I talk about shifting projects around. We're really targeting keeping our rates at 5% increases year over year and not having shock surprises to our ratepayers. When Greg mentioned we're in a strong financial position, I would say that we're definitely in a strong financial position to be able to convey to our ratepayers that we're not expecting any sticker shock increases in our rates. We've this plan, as we've found, even with the increase in costs that we've identified, are still projecting no more than a 5% rate increase to our ratepayers, which is great for me since I'm a ratepayer. So I appreciate that stability in what I can predict for our sewer rates. So And I'll take just a few minutes on the outfall. Just a highlight of where we're at today. So the tunnel was launched on August 29th, and we're anticipating arrival in the river. I just got an update here this morning that we're going to be in the river the week of November the 4th. So we've basically got 2 more weeks of tunneling from where we're at. Open cut construction started in August, and I just got a schedule that is not going as well as the tunneling, but it's not going to be November when they're done. It's going to be in January. They're behind schedule on the open cut. Overall, from a project's perspective, not going to impact bringing the system online, but they are they're not as productive as they thought they would be when they put their first schedule together, I'd say. And then we'll be back building our diffuser in water next July, and the new outfall will be placed in service most likely by the end of 2025, but contractually we have to have it in service by 2026. Next slide. And then just so folks can get we talk about the tunneling. If you've never been down there or you haven't seen any plan or profiles, just from a project perspective, the tunnel is launched right there near the Main Street roundabout. Right there at that circle. Yep, thank you. And then if you look down at the bottom, you see different colors in the profile down there. And so that yellow, I'll call it an orange, and then a blue, those are 3 distinct layers of geology that really drove a lot of the design discussions on this project. We needed a horizontal curve, and we also, to be under the river, needed to go deeper. And so there was a vertical curve. There was discussion of each of those layers during design of the complexity of tunneling through each layer. And so the gray layer there is fill, the yellow layer is a silty sand, the orange layer is more cobbly, and then the blue layer is like the Missoula floods. It's a kind of maybe the Troutdale formation. If you've heard of it, it's a really hard material to drill through. So we wanted to stay out of that. And chose a horizontal curve and a vertical curve. So we stayed in the yellow as much as possible. That's the easier to drill material. And then if you see off to the right, that pink color, that's municipal solid waste. So that's our landfill back towards the plant. Next slide. So here you can see it's a vertical curve. When we think vertical curve, this is a 1,000-foot radius. So not a tight vertical curve by any stretch of the imagination, but we did have a curve. And you can see that coloring didn't come in as well, but we stayed majority in the yellow colors through there. One location I'll call out there is the square at the kind of the clover leaf there for the 99 interchange. We drilled out in front. We put some cement mixing out in front of our tunnel machine. We did that in the spring, and we recently drilled into that cement that we put down in there, and that allowed them to access the face of the tunnel. So they sent people down the pipe to the face of the tunnel, and they retooled our tunnel boring machine on 60 feet underground, retooling the machine so that they could put the right cutter heads on there for going into cobble. And at that point, you notice we kind of transitioned to a vertical. You can go next slide. And so then we end up with a vertical curve to get down to the depth we need. As of this afternoon, we're currently at station 7 plus 62. So that puts us just on the edge of Highway 99. So we're almost across Highway 99 going out to the river. And if you look at the kind of the profile down there, where the tunnel machine ends at 2 plus 15, we've started excavation. There's a barge out there. We've started digging the bottom of the river to create a landing pad for our tunnel machine to come out the bottom of the river. So the machine itself is 51 feet long, and it weighs 225,000 pounds. And so once they get out there, they'll build a pad, they disconnect a lot of the utilities, they flood the tunnel machine so it stays at the same pressure as water, and then they'll actually lift that from a barge. We'll be using, I believe, the Kiewit barge down there that's working on the 205 bridge. We'll be lifting our machine out of the water, and I expect that to happen. They have about 3 weeks worth of work once we land in the river before they have it all flooded and utilities disconnected and everything before we actually lift it. So by the end of the month in November, we'll have it out of the water, bundle it up, and send it back to Germany. Couple of fun facts. We're 77% complete on it. Our jacking pipes, if you've seen those big concrete pipes down around the site, those are all 10 feet long, and they all weigh 36,000 pounds. And And those are it. I gave you the 225 and 51 feet long for the tunnel machine. So exciting project. We're almost to the river. I can almost sleep better at night knowing that we haven't hit anything unexpected, at least on the tunnel piece. So be happy if somebody has any questions or wants more information. Feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to chat with you. But we're on the home stretch.
Will it still say
Nope.
Clackamole when it pops out? Do you think?
Well, I'll get a picture. I doubt it.
Okay.
But Jessica, I'll turn it over to you for Bolton.
Cool, thanks. Chris, do you want me to share or? do you
Yeah,
have-
that sounds
Okay,
good. Thanks.
sorry. Share. Make sure it's the right screen. Okay. Does that look right? You guys seeing Bolton?
Yep,
Force
looks great.
Main? Excellent. Now how do I go slides forward? Get a drive and. There we go. Hey, we did it. So, I think you probably saw in some of Greg's updates, we talked about our Bolton Force Main pigging project. Just wanted to tell folks a little bit more about that. For those of you not familiar with our collection system, City of West Lynn, we have 3 pump stations: the Bolton Pump Station, the River Street Pump Station, and the Willamette Pump Station. That's kind of the dividing line between West Lynn's responsibility and us. And then there's also some gravity sewer that we own that comes through and over the old arch bridge. So that's how City of West Lynn connects to Wes's system. Also, some of you may know or remember that we had some issues with breaks in the Bolton Force Main in the past 5, 6, 7 years. We had some breaks out in Maddox Woods where we realigned a portion of the force main. And then we also just recently did our Bolton pump station upgrades, where we put in new pumps, new electrical equipment, control systems, HVAC, pretty much overhauled the station. And upon completion of that upgrade project, the pumps weren't producing or pushing the amount of flow that we would have expected. So we did some calculations and determined that it's actually the force main. There was a restriction in the force main that was causing the pumps to work harder, therefore not push or produce as much flow through the force main as we'd like. So that's what kicked off the pigging project. And I think we've said this before, but it always boggles my mind. Why is it called pigging? It's the silliest thing ever. If you look it up on Wikipedia, initially, when they started cleaning sewers or force mains, it used to be like straw or hay wrapped in the baling wire, and the baling wire itself would screech. It would scrape along the inside of the pipe and make a screeching noise, and that's why everybody started calling them pigs. So we entered into a contract with SFE Global to help us pig the Bolton force main. The Bolton force main goes from the Bolton pump station, which is approximately here. It's 6,400 linear feet till it comes out on the other side of the Willamette River in Clackamas Park. It's 16-inch diameter ductile iron concrete line pipe. For those of you not familiar with the collection system, gravity systems are meant to be accessed. Typically, there's an access hole or a manhole every 400 feet or so. So you have a lot of access points where you can get into our gravity sewers and clean them or TV them. Force mains don't have access points. They're pressure pipe. There isn't intermediate places where you can just hop down in the pipe and see what's going on. So all 6,400 feet is one long shot, and that's what the pigs had to travel through. The other thing to talk about is there's kind of 2 different types of pigging we're talking about. Pigging is an industry term for cleaning pressure pipes. Pigging is usually done with foam pigs, these bullet-shaped things in the right-hand side of the picture. They come in different sizes, different firmness, all kinds of variations. And to pig for cleaning purposes, they start with a very small, very soft pig, and you put it in through a pig launcher. This is downstream in the Bolton, or downstairs in the Bolton pump station. There's piping where you can introduce the pig and then put a flange or a blind flange back on here, push water in there and push it up into the pump station piping. And then we turn on the pumps and let them take over, and the flow from the pumps in the pump station push that styrofoam pig all the way through the 6,400 feet until it pops out in a gravity manhole over here in Clackamas Park. Just one thing to point out from this picture, if you can see here, this is wrapped in green plastic, but the foam is the yellow white of foam. When it comes out of the sewer, it's this black color. So we ran in, I think it was only one day where we did all the pigging, but we did 5 separate pigs that we ran through the Bolton force main. On average, they took 30 minutes each to travel all the way from the Bolton pump station to where they popped out in gravity in Clackamas Park. We never saw any really sizable debris. We were worried with all the pump station breaks that rock or something like that had gotten back in the force main. But really, it was just really murky, cloudy, almost like coffee grounds kind of water flushing through there. But so there were no major obstructions, and they put all 5 swabs through, and based on the condition when the pig comes out, if it's not too roughed up, torn up, scraped up, they would progress in firmness and diameter until they get greater than the pipe diameter. So this thing is all the way pressed against the sides through the pipe. And once everything comes out okay and they feel there's enough clear opening, then they introduce the smart pig. So there's a bunch of different technologies on the market on how you can do inspection of pressure pipe. We chose to use the smart pig. The smart pig collects multiple types of data. It has electromagnetic sensors. I don't know if you can see the little white dots kind of in the blue stripes. Those are the electromagnetic sensors. It also has an inertial monitor unit sensor in it, so it can tell differences in elevation in the way that it's traveling. It also has an odometer to keep track of distance, and it has calipers that are riding against the exterior of the interior of the pipe that measure the wall loss and difference on inside diameter. So this is the smart pig. It was actually, I believe this was 18 inches in diameter. So it's oversized, and it took a lot of oomph to get this thing jammed in here. And again, it was white when it went in, and this is what it looked like when it came out. It also had all that technology inside of it. So they were able to, as soon as it came out, they hooked it up to a laptop and downloaded the information. That information got sent over to Germany, where it was analyzed, and we then got the final report and results. So they did send us a 159-page report, which I wasn't going to make everybody read. And honestly, I didn't read the whole thing either. But they also gave us this really cool video that kind of summarizes the results. The blue line is the path of the force main that the pig took. The launcher is the Bolton force main. The receiver was over in Clackamas Park. These are bar graphs of wall loss. Green is less than 15%. Yellow is 15 to 30. This area here is the place where we replaced the pipe with C900 in Maddox Woods. No defects in that area, thankfully. And if you see, how close these are together, there's very limited defects under the Willamette River as well. And then the same information is kind of presented in a more of a heat map, which shows a lot of our hot spots are kind of down. Whoops, it goes too fast through that part. But the hot spots are down by the Willamette River and in River Street. This is where it runs along the beach right after it gets out of, or the riverfront after it comes out of Bolton, through Maddox Woods and River Street before it then goes under the river over to Clackamas Park. So in their report and their results, they also gave us approximately 8 locations where they indicated that there may be holes in the Bolton force main, and that was really scary. So operations hopped right on it, and we went and dug up 6 of those, and there were no holes. So We are looking at going back to those 6 locations in November with a UT gauge, which is technology that through the outside of the pipe, we can measure wall loss. And we will be doing that in November, and I will be coming back to y'all with more data after that. So if anybody has questions, happy to answer questions, or if anybody ever wants to talk about the collection system, you know where to find me.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't see any questions in the chat or raised hands, so we will.
I just want to say something real quick. And this was one of those areas of our system that kind of kept me up at night. You know, that pipe was installed in the 80s. We had multiple breaks on the West Lynn side, and we didn't know what condition or what kind of, what kind of other gremlins might be lurking. So doing this really moved us from a reactive mode to a proactive mode where we're able to actually see those hot spots and go out and investigate. We are going to be doing work on that pipeline, but we're just in such a better place than we were. And I just want to thank Jessica for getting that done. That was awesome.
All right. Thank you. And next up, we will be hearing from Alexa about community events.
All right, next slide. Hi there, I'm Alexa Morris. It's good to see everyone. I wanted to start with our vision before we dive into the community event update. Our vision at WES is to be a collaborative partner in building a resilient clean water future where all people benefit and rivers thrive. And the emphasis, especially in the context of this presentation, is on collaborative. So next slide. Today, I'm excited to give you an overview of some of the ways that we're a collaborative partner in the communities that we serve and making that connection between our work and protecting water quality in our rivers and streams. The information I'll be sharing with you today comes from Strategy 7 within the strategic plan, which is stakeholder and community engagement. And you don't want to miss it. You got to go all the way to the last page of the strategic plan to find Strategy 7. Our stakeholder and community engagement team is committed to proactive engagement, effective communication, public education, and community leadership. And so I just want to give a shout out to our partners at PGA, Todd and Sam, as well as Gail, Akiko, and Chris, who meet monthly to ensure that we are on track with our partnerships. And the information I'll be sharing with you today is by no means a complete list. We have great partnerships with watershed councils, watershed health education programs, and business groups, such as the North Clackamas Chamber and the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce. So I just wanted to mention that before we dive in. So let's get started. Next slide. First, I want to share with you 2 initiatives we participate in throughout our service area. And we're going to talk about these before we dive into individual cities. So this summer, we just completed our 7th summer participating with Solve and sponsoring the Solve Waterway Cleanup Series. You might know Solve from their beach cleanups, but they also do cleanups across the state, including right here in Clackamas County. And Solve's mission is to bring communities together to take care of our environment and enhance our waterways. So as you can see, this is a no-brainer partnership for us. And so what does this look like in action? Well, at the beginning of this summer, which was back in May, we had a Solve Cleanup kickoff event at Meldrum Park in Gladstone. And then throughout the summer, Solve hosts cleanup events along waterways and recreational areas to help keep our rivers and streams clean. Just this month, we had our wrap-up event at High Rocks in Gladstone. If you know High Rocks, you know there's a lot of activity in that area throughout the summer with folks enjoying the water. And for that event, we had 41 volunteers show up, and together we collected 350 pounds of trash in just 2 hours. And throughout the summer for this event series, over 1,500 people volunteered across 61 different events, resulting in removing over 30,000 pounds of litter from Oregon streams, rivers, and creeks, which is pretty amazing. And we'd love to have you join us next summer too. If this is something that sounds fun to you, we'd love to have you as well. Another event that we participate and sponsor in our service areas is Movies in the Park. If you've ever attended a Movies in the Park, I would ask you to put in the chat, what movie did you see in the park? This event happens throughout our service area, and we support this in unincorporated Clackamas County, Oregon City, Westland, Gladstone, and Milwaukee. And why do we sponsor Movies in the Park? Well, it's a great time to show PSAs because people's attention is towards the screen, much like you are right now. And I'm going to put a link in the chat, so if you're interested in seeing the PSA that we play at these Movies in the Park events, you can check it out. And this is just one great way that we can communicate healthy watershed messages and hopefully influence behavior in encouraging folks not to use their toilet like a trash can. All right, next slide. So next, I'm going to dive into some of the cities that we support local events at as well. So starting in Gladstone, each year we support the Gladstone Community Festival as a sponsor. And as I mentioned, our kickoff event and our wrap-up event for our SOLVE partnership is also in Gladstone. Next slide. One of our goals within our stakeholder and community engagement strategy is to cultivate a generation of diverse watershed leaders. And in Happy Valley, that looks like participating in Public Works Days and National Night Out. And a shout out to James and Kevin, who interact with the families and kids that come up to them and share with them what WES does and how the TV truck works. We're also sponsors for the community events with the Happy Valley Parks and Rec that hosts events throughout the year. Next slide. Now we'll jump to Oregon City. Most recently this month, we hosted a forum at the Oregon City Business Alliance titled Clackamas County's Clean Water Future. This was our 6th year hosting a forum and bringing attention to water issues. We hosted leaders from Sunrise Water Authority, Clackamas River Water Providers, Clackamas River Water, Brown and Caldwell, to speak on key issues in water quality and the drinking water industry, and then connecting that all back to how we partner alongside them from the WES perspective. And topics included climate change, conservation, as well as agency collaboration. And if any of that sounds interesting to you, the event will be posted soon on YouTube, so we'll be sure to get that link out. The photos that are featured on this slide are from our booth at the Oregon City First City event, which was back in July, hosted by the Downtown Oregon City Association. It's a great time for us to connect with the public and touch on education topics, like I mentioned, the what not to flush, as well as how fats, oils, and grease down the drain can damage your pipes. All right, next slide. As I mentioned, WES is a proud sponsor and supporter of Movies in the Park, and we do that in Westland too. And this is an opportunity for us to teach kids and their parents valuable lessons about not flushing anything other than toilet paper down the toilet. So we're talking about opportunities now too with Westland to get involved in more events, such as their Touch a Truck event, which is another education opportunity for kids to get involved in the work that we do and get up close to the equipment. Next slide. In Milwaukee this year, for the first time, we hosted Porch Fest at Kellogg. We had nearly 100 people come hang out with us at Kellogg, and we hosted the Danda Marimba Band, and we're looking forward to participating again in 2025, if construction allows, of course. And this summer, you may have also seen us at Watershed Discovery Day at Mill Park. This was a really great partnership with the Johnson Creek Watershed Council alongside SOLVE, teaching families and kids more about the watershed that they live in. All right, next slide. So as much as we're out in the community, we're also inviting people to come meet us and get to know us a little bit better by hosting them for tours at our facilities. I want to give a shout out to Kim and Jeffrey that organize tours at Tri-City, and Stephanie that organizes tours at Kellogg. At Tri-City leading tours, we have Blake, Bruce, and Dan. At Kellogg, we have Amy and Josh. In these two photos, we have Hawkins at Hoodland, who gave a tour recently for a Boy Scout troop back in June. And on the right-hand side, we have Josh, Amy, and Greg, who hosted the City of Milwaukee Planning Commission at Kellogg to give them a behind-the-scenes view of the work that we have coming up. All right, next slide. So you might be thinking, well, Alexa, what's coming up next? Well, you have two opportunities to come check us out. We have two events in Milwaukee this December, which is right around the corner. We'll be sponsoring the porta potties at both of these events. You can come see us at the Winter Solstice event and get some information about WES, or being in the new year where we will have a booth. So come by and say hello, or if you're interested in helping, let me know. Check out our events calendar as well. So if you scan this QR code, this gives you a chance to see what events we're participating in, and also some of the events of our community partners through our River Health Grants program. So thank you for your time today. If there are any activities or events you think we should get involved in our service area, please let me know.
All right, thank you. And we can follow up too with the QR code, maybe a link to the video, if folks didn't catch that before the meeting's over. So you have opportunity to look at those. All right, thank you. And we will move on to building remodel updates.
Awesome. I'm back. Get to listen to me again for another couple minutes here on the Kellogg Creek Admin Building Remodel Project. I gave a presentation, I think in April earlier this year, and just want to give a quick update. We're working through picking finishes and stuff, and kind of just to provide that. So next slide. So just a reminder, our admin building was constructed in 1974. The real goal, one of the drivers for the project, was the relocation of the existing locker rooms, lunchrooms, and laundry to create space for our future solids project. So moving that out from the plant process space into the admin building. We are increasing space size. We're including a meeting space, which would be kind of our lunchroom as a staff lunchroom, but also it could house small public meetings. We've been having lots of workshops in collaboration with operations and staff at Kellogg, and had a lot of opportunities for input, and we're advancing towards 90% design, with our design complete and bidding to occur in early 2025. Next slide. So just a reminder of the layout. The door that you see there in the foyer, that's the existing door. And so you can imagine that the conference room and the lunchroom shown there, that's the addition to the building. And otherwise, it's really a remove all of the interior walls and such and rebuild up from there. We're not really holding any of the corridor essentially stays real similar, but a majority of the interior walls will come down and be redone. As part of that, we'll have the men's and women's locker room. In the conference room, there's a bathroom across from the mechanical room that is out of the locker rooms, which is a nice thing for folks not having to have their locker room shared with somebody from the public needing to use the restroom. So I think that's something that's a really nice addition. So next slide. And so just some renderings for what that's going to look like. That meeting space is going to be really a wall of windows and be a really nice space to eat lunch with a lot of sunlight coming in. And then the little screening on the top is really just a code requirement to screen your mechanical items. We had to do it here at Tri-City, even all the way back on our Tri-City Solids new building. We had to put screening around our HVAC units and stuff. So it's just, I guess people don't like to look at the mechanical stuff that makes the buildings work, even though I find them fascinating. So next slide. Just from a finishes perspective, that building has a lot of tongue and groove wood in the that was at one point covered up by these drop ceilings, and so we're going to be really uncovering and just basically representing what was historically built in the 70s as a beautiful, nice wood ceiling. There'll be some textured concrete. The meeting space will have some fabrics and some sound deadening on the walls because it is going to be really tall ceilings. And then you can see option A down there was presented as kind of the color scheme of the space. And so it's, we're not getting crazy with colors, but a lot of the color splashes that are going to be added would be more on the fabrics of furniture, chairs, and things that could be changed out over time as they wear away or as aesthetics change. We're going with pretty clean, neutral colors, I would say, natural colors, and really trying to highlight I'm not an architect, but I'm just regurgitating what they sold us in the meetings, really trying to highlight the natural wood finish and feel of the space. Hopefully I'm selling it well. Next slide. So in the toilets space, in the locker rooms, we're going with some a little bit more private toilet partitions, so there's not gaps and seams and other things. New lockers, both wet and dry lockers for stuff. A majority of the flooring throughout the facility is going to be an epoxy flooring. It's a really durable material. The new space will have it'll be a polished concrete finish to it, which is also a really durable. We couldn't do that on the existing space because some of the conduits and other things that come through the floor, it's really kind of a hodgepodge of finish, so we couldn't really polish up. We didn't want to polish up that and have it be splotchy with cuts and repairs and such. So we're going to do an epoxy floor throughout. And then in the locker rooms themselves, it'll be a porcelain tile finish. Next slide. This is kind of a rendering cut view of what the meeting space and kitchen area, the staff lunchroom will be. You know, there'll be a normal range, dishwasher, fridge, that kind of stuff, but that'll be, you know, I think it's a court style countertop with some natural wood cabinetry. And again, there's that kind of textured concrete just to give it a little bit of a nice feel to it. Next slide. I think that might be it. That's it. So pretty exciting project. This, you know, we're going to use a lot of the choices that were made at Kellogg to bring those to Tri-City when we get the next steps would be to move over to Tri-City and work on that in a few years. Obviously, part of that project will be we have to relocate the major truck parking that we have, the garage. As soon as the outfall is done in the landfill, we'll be moving that down, and then we'll be working on the Tri-City admin. So definitely try to use some of the decisions we've made here and the effort we've put into color schemes and other things to try to bring those in so our facilities all look somewhat uniform. Yeah, it's going to be a really exciting project in a nice space. And Andrew, I see you have a question.
It's actually just more of a comment. I just think this is so great, and it's just so you know, overdue. I worked for WES for a long time, and in the late 90s up to about 2005, City of Milwaukee never would have given us any permits to do this kind of stuff. They wouldn't allow us to reinvest in Kellogg, and they wanted it deleted. They wanted it to convert it into a pump station. It's just so great that we're getting around to upgrading this really important facility. I'm reminded of how Field Ops from 1974 to 1986, Field Ops was based at Kellogg too. You know, I mean, that was what everything WES did was all based there. And it's just so great that that building was built properly with the wood. I didn't know about the wood that you're going to expose in the ceiling, and just beautiful. So I just think it's a great project, and thanks for telling us more about it.
If you're ever down at Tri-City, one of the things, or not at Tri-City, but at Kellogg, one of the things that I get shocked on is when you go on the IPS and you look up and it's this beautiful tongue and groove ceiling, natural wood ceiling in our influent pump station there, and it looks like it's in immaculate condition. And so I think that's quite frankly a testament to the fact that our staff really cares for and loves the places that they work, and really take care of it. I get that comment always on tours. Oh my God, I can't believe how clean your facilities are. And so just, you know, a testament to the fact that we're able to do that is because we take care of our stuff. So
I'll just echo, I hear that on every single tour that I give. There's always people saying, wow, this place is super clean and well maintained.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the update. And lastly, we will roll into life outside of WES, and we're going to be hearing from Alexa.
Oh, I'm also back. This is my life outside of WES. Next slide. I really enjoy cycling. Fun fact about Alexa. And I started riding bikes in 2021 as a way to get outside and spend time with my friends, and found a lot of joy in cycling and being outdoors. So here are a few pictures from 2021 of cycling adventures. Next slide. Another fun fact is every December since 2016, I've committed to wearing a dress every single day to raise awareness about human trafficking and raise funds to fight it. And so that event is called Dresscember. And in 2022, I was thinking, how could I connect Dresscember with cycling? And so in 2022, every time I raised $500, I go for a bike ride in a dress. And that year we ended up raising $2,200. So I ended up being on a dress on a bike a lot that December. And since 2016, I've been able to raise $10,000 by simply just wearing a dress every day of December to raise awareness about human trafficking, which is pretty cool. And this year I'll be doing it again, and I'll be raising funds to support A Village for One, which is a nonprofit based in Oregon City and serves the Portland metro area as well, fighting human trafficking here locally. Next slide. Back to biking. It's also given me the chance to explore new places with a different perspective. I got to go to Germany for the first time in 2023, and I was like, well, now I'm a cycling person. So what would a bike riding tour look like in another country? And so I got to go cycle for a day with a small group of folks. There was less than 10 of us that spent the day biking all over Berlin. So I got to see a new city from a completely different perspective than I otherwise would have. Next slide. In 2024, I got to participate in a cycling event specifically for women hosted by Cycle Oregon. And this was the first time and the farthest I've ever gone was 34 miles at this event. I surprised myself because I had planned on riding 12 miles one day and 15 miles the next day. And I was eating breakfast with some people and they were like, oh, we're going to be doing the 34 mile. And everyone was saying, oh yeah. And I was just like, yeah, me too. So I ended up doing something extremely out of my comfort zone. But I was super proud of myself for doing something I didn't think I could do. And then the last slide leads me to where am I going next? Well, I am working towards a 50-mile gravel race in Stillwater, Oklahoma, this coming March. So 50 miles, it'll be the longest I've ever cycled before. And now that I'm saying it in front of nearly 60 people online, now I really feel like I got an accomplishment. I'm registered and I'm working up to reaching that 50-mile mark. I'm at 35 now and slowly ticking my way up so I can reach that 50-mile goal. And that is my life outside of WES.
That's awesome.
All right. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I definitely couldn't do that. I ride horses, much less physical. All right, well, great. Thank you so much for sharing. And that was our last item on the agenda. So I'm going to pass to Greg for closing remarks.
All right, thanks everybody. I thought that was great information, and it's great to see so many people on the call. And yeah, I'm just thankful for all of you and all the work that you do. And I just want you to know that people inside of WES, outside of WES, out in the community, the board, they all see it, and they know that you guys are killing it. And I appreciate that. It makes it a pleasure to come to work every day. So thank you and have a great week.